Today we're going to talk about the law of awareness, but before we do that, if you happen to be watching on the Facebook business page and you want to chat with us, I think I'll see the chat come up and we can post it. If you're on YouTube, you just happen to scroll across me, feel free to hit the little thumbs up like button underneath the video. That helps YouTube understand that the content's cool and they like push that out. So make sure you like that. And if you come back and watch it on demand after it's over, do the same thing. So I want to introduce my sidekick over here, and the name went underneath me. I'm Hurdy Burke, your host, but Danny L. Smith is that guy right over there. Okay. And Danny, before we jump into the law of awareness, tell us, just to catch us up again. I like to do this every week just to let everybody know what you do in the Austin area, you know, and your John Maxwell background, please, sir.
I've been in the mortgage business for 39 years. I'm also a coach and trainer on a training company called Impact Leadership. And we work primarily with real estate agents, but have quite a few just regular business clients that we work with, also helping them. Main thing we work on is helping people execute. In real estate, the three most important things in real estate is location, location, location. The three most important things for being productive is execution, execution, execution.
We will keep you on about 15 to 30 minutes. We like to make these brief, but if please go out on Kindle audiobooks or Amazon or wherever you buy your books and get this book, because what we cover on these sheets of paper, I have some highlighted notes, and what Danny talks about will kind of just tease the surface of how deep the chapter is on the law of awareness. So Danny, I'm going to start with a few things. Interrupt me if you like. I'm just going to kind of go give people some ideas what we're talking about today. So the law of awareness is described as you must know yourself to grow yourself. And I am going to look down and read some notes, so just so you're aware of that. And that includes everything from your strength, your weaknesses, your interest, and your opportunities. And I'll even describe for you later when we get on this broadcast, I'll describe later how I use stair steps as a visualization for where I was at in these steps. So Danny, if you don't mind, can I read off the three types of people?
Sure.
On the awareness factor?
Yep.
All right. I'm going to go slow. So the first one is there's three kinds of people. People who don't know what they would like to do. And that symptom would be total confusion. Don't have a clue. The second type of people who know what they would like to do, but don't do it. Total frustration and anger and all the junk that grows with it, right?
Yeah. You hit on two key words there, frustration and confusion. And anybody that's frustrated, it's very likely because they're confused. If you're frustrated, it's one of two reasons. And I'm just going to, for this purpose here, just talk about confused. Confused. You're confused. If you're frustrated, you just got to figure out what you're confused about.
The third one is people who know what they would like to do and do it. And their classic symptom is fulfilled. So that's where you want to be in your awareness factor. All right. So I'm going to keep going, Danny, here for a minute. All right.
Yep.
And I want to read something. So not only do I have the Kindle, I've got my phone here, because I've got the book up. Okay. So I want to read this quote from the bottom of 18 and tell me if this doesn't feel a lot like what a lot of people are going through, not only in their personal growth, their business growth, the spiritual growth, whatever that is. Okay. We are distressed by an ungoverned, undirected energies and do many things, but nothing long. It is our duty to find ourselves.
How a book speaks to somebody. That's what you're telling me, how this book is speaking to you. And that John, the author, has done a good job as it relates to you. He's done a good job as it relates to everybody, or a lot of people, about this book. I have people come on. I have a check-in call Monday through Friday, and I'm going to give a little plug for that call. It's free.
Please do.
At 9:30 a.m. Monday through Friday. It's a check-in call. Some people call it their accountability call. We teach people how to, but for the most part, it's just where it's a non-judging call to people to, here's what I've been doing, here's what I've done. And this is what I'm going to do between now and tomorrow or next week when I call in again. And I say that you can't call into that call 3 times a week for 4 weeks and something not change. Some people call in there and they just need to state, they are frustrated, and I can hear it. And I ask them, we back up into this law right here, that they're not aware of what they're just confused about stuff. They got to dig into it and be aware of what they're confused about. There's some people who, what do you say? People who know what they want to do, but don't do it.
Yeah.
They're frustrated, and they know what to do, but they're frustrated because they're not doing it. And that's what John's talking about, here in this law, is how to move to that third one, to be fulfilled. I wrote it down right. I thought I had the book laying here, and I don't. But people who know what they want to do and do it.
Fulfilled.
You're fulfilled. You're fulfilled. At the end of the day, you did what you said you were going to do today, and you're fulfilled. I mean, that's pretty powerful.
I would, if I was looking at all 3 of these, I would, of course, always want to be doing the latter one where I feel fulfilled. But if I had a choice between 1 or 2, I would rather be number 1 than number 2, because think about what you need to do and you don't do it. So what I want to dive into, Danny, if you have some thoughts on that, is what possibly keeps us. Is it distractions of every day? What is it that keeps us from doing what we need to do when we know we need to do it?
If it's something that,
fear.
It can be fear. A procrastination. A lot of things cause procrastination. Okay.
Yep.
And we procrastinate. Our subconscious. If it's something that's new that we're not used to, if we've had a bad experience from it, but we just and we don't want to jump back on that horse again because we've gotten knocked off, we've gotten drugged a little bit, went off the back, and our subconscious is going to try to keep us in a comfort zone, even if that comfort zone is not, it's not doing us well. It's not serving us well. But we're comfortable being miserable. Some of us are. Other times, what happens is that we would rather do. I would rather go to a networking meeting of the mornings and sit around, drink coffee, and talk to some people than make my 10 phone calls into my database.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So that's what people. So he said, well, I'm going to do those 10 phone calls later. And so you go to the networking meeting and that rolls into something else and something else. And what happens is that energy is spent and you need to regroup. And there's not just a psychological, some of it's psychological, but there's also a physical aspect of this. And
absolutely.
Dopamine, dopamine is very likely, 99.9% of the people, the way I understand it, is it's higher of the mornings than it is any time during the day. And if we don't do those big rock things, the big things that we don't want to do, we have to do those first thing in the morning. That's why that I rarely have an appointment outside the office of the mornings. I have a routine. I get up pretty early. I go through this routine, and I'm literally conserving my dopamine. Then I'm going to do the hard stuff right off the bat. And then I'm going to space out certain things during the day. Today we get off of this call. I've got 15. I won't take another phone call. I won't look at emails for 15 minutes. I just want to regroup. I enjoy doing this, but it can be a little bit of a dopamine addiction, to dopamine high, if you will, doing this. So that's what we have to. But many of us just don't do what we're supposed to do, and we blame it on other things. We let things distract us. Anyway, a little bit of rambling there on my part. John, does talk about motives in this chapter. Understand motives. Another chapter we'll talk about in a few weeks is the law of environment, putting yourself in the right environment. If I'm having, I call it manopause, in the afternoon, I'm having this pause, I'm having this thinking. I might turn on certain music. Some days it's rock and roll, some days it's country and western. I've got a playlist of, I think it's got around 90 different short of Lonesome Dove. And I can spend 10 to 15 minutes with that. It can get me back on the right track and I can get some things done. So we all have to know how to hack our motives, hack our emotions in this. But the big thing is being aware of it. To bring it back to this law of awareness, is that we're aware of what's going on and we're aware that we can do something about it. Really encourage anybody that if they're struggling with getting things done, they're struggling with that, especially what was that note here? What you want, people who know what they want to do but don't do it. Reach out to me, reach out to Herdy, and he can give you the number. Call in for my 9:30 call. Don't try to sell you anything. I have nothing for you to buy, but just call into that call. If you don't want to talk, just be a listener. We've got plenty of people on there that's talking about what they're doing that day and some struggles they're having.
Sure.
The learning model of observational learning is a powerful learning model. So you just observe what other people are doing.
I totally agree. And I would say that along with this awareness is I kind of broke down some things to be aware of in myself. After I went through this with you several years ago, I kept a little journal, and I'll say these out loud because I'm speaking into what I wanted to become aware of. And I being an older guy, I became aware of my physical awareness, right? What I'm good at awareness. I know this all sounds kind of funny, but these were my growth areas. My spiritual awareness, these are areas I wanted to grow in. My who do I want to be around awareness. Now you think this is all funny, but these were things I was not quite aware of, and that's just a few examples. And then Danny, really quickly, you can elaborate. Let me tell everybody how I visualized myself when I started this process, because if we go back to that first chapter, I was a very active person, but I was not a growing person. And I knew that. But you have to start somewhere, right? Fake it till you make it or whatever. Then you get, and this is why I tell people you have to read and you have to have mentors in your life, because you're not going to grow unless a lot of times you get some outside influence or you read or you keep growing your mind, right? So I picture myself when I started this, I picture myself on a set of stairs that go from the bottom to the top. And if you were on the first, let me go back to those three kinds of people. Pull my notes over here. All right. We make this informal. People who don't know what they would like to do. Well, if you're on a stair step and you're confused and you're not doing anything, then you're standing on the first step and you're looking up. And you're stuck there. You're not going up. You're not going back. You're just standing there and you're doing absolutely nothing except being confused and upset, right? People who know what they want to do but don't do it are kind of like on the second step. They've gotten past the confusion. They know what they need to do, but if they're standing on the second step looking up, right, they're not moving, but they're sitting there. So they're not growing and they're not doing anything. And then the fulfilled people are maybe halfway up the steps because they understand the growth cycle and they're always moving toward the top, and they've got some rules and they've set some tones for what they need to do to grow. And they're paying attention to the awareness factors they've set up for their life. How did I describe that?
That was really, really good. That's a great analogy. I want to add to it that, a person that's on the first step and is just, they're not aware of what they like to do. And most people just aren't willing to do. I'm a big believer that, do something even if it's wrong. Okay. anything worth doing is worth doing poorly as you learn to do it well. Okay.
Yes.
And
Yes.
but sometimes, and it was Samuel Johnson that said almost every man wastes part of his life in attempts to display qualities which he does not possess. There's some people trying to, maybe they're on that middle step. They're starting to realize that they're in the middle. They're going, this is not working. I want to go further, but they need to see if they got the qualities to go farther. And I've had people, I had somebody last July, August that came to me, wanted to be coached, and I said, plug into this. Doesn't cost you anything to plug in. Right. He said, well, at the time that call was at 8:00 in the morning. And he said, well, it's a little too early, this and this. And I said, you don't want it very bad. He called in for 2.5 weeks. In 2.5 weeks, he did nothing new. And he called me and he said, Danny, I'm realizing that what it takes for me to be successful in sales, I'm not willing to do. Every day I call in and I say, I'm going to do this today. And every day I don't do it. I let distractions, I come up with every excuse in the book not to do something. I even think I made myself sick for 2 or 3 days. Still called in, and he quit. He quit that line of work that he was in.
Because he didn't want to do it.
He
didn't know what he wanted to do. Right.
He thought he wanted to do it, but he wasn't willing to do the work.
Right. And that's a key factor to this whole awareness thing.
Yeah.
You know, once you become aware of something, then the beauty of that is at least he discovered he didn't want to do it. He knew it in his gut.
Yeah.
And he knew he wasn't going to do the work, but he finally had to tell himself, I got to move on.
Yeah, that's the whole thing around. That's how it's goal setting versus goal achieving. Goal setting happens in our consciousness. Goal achieving happens from our subconscious.
Right.
Okay. And it's a different part of the mind, it's a different part of the brain that's coming and acting from. And I mean, I can set a goal, get all fired up, and you and I start talking about something. We've done it. I've been driving down the road and okay, I'm going to do this. And then 2 or 3 days later, you call me and say, hey, what are you thinking? I go, Herdy, I don't know what you're talking about. I remember a conversation that happened to us about a month ago. And I'm going, oh my gosh, but it was something I got fired up about.
And I sent you to the doctor after that. Okay.
Yeah.
No, okay.
And then but you've got to get it into your subconscious, and where that you're acting, we act from our subconscious 98% of the time, and our subconscious mind works about 10,000 plus times faster than our consciousness.
Yeah.
And our action and results come from our real action and results comes from our subconscious, and that's where sustainable results come from. Maxwell said that we cannot long outperform our self-image.
Right.
And it's that subconscious that holds our self-image.
And I would go on to say, Danny, tied to those thoughts you just released, is that if you were to get a piece of paper out, you might write down these 4 questions that are in the book to help you start your awareness journey to growth. And that is, do you like what you're doing now? And be honest with yourself. Write down everything you're doing. And are you happy with it? And that's not only personal, that could be business, whatever, but start. And Danny, you've always said authentic journaling is about not trying to worry about the paragraphs and the margins. It just starts scribbling, right? Let your brain translate to your writing hand and just start putting thoughts down.
Yeah, just doing a brain dump.
It's a brain dump. There you go. I couldn't think of how you described it.
And it needs to be by hand, not on a computer. If you do it on a computer, do it on a computer. There's a lot of distraction on the computer, but if you got all your noise turned off and you're just handwriting stuff and just doing a brain dump, get stuff. I think about it. What a computer has I hadn't thought about this in months. We have our hard drive memory. Well, that's our subconscious. Then we have our RAM. Computers still have RAM. Have a RAM. That's our consciousness. Mm-hmm. But we have so much going on in our consciousness, though, and all this random stuff going on that we need to do a reboot. Well, that's what authentic, I now call creative journaling. That's what that is that we're rebooting our consciousness, getting past all that random access stuff, random access memory, so that we can get down into our subconscious.
And so, very good thoughts. And I'm going to throw the second thing out I journal about, and that is, what would you like to do? A lot of people do things because they've been told they have to do things, or they were raised to do a certain thing, but they may not be doing anything that they're good at. They might just be doing to be doing, to put it simple. So write out what you'd like to do. You'd be surprised what may come up on that, and it may change and take you in a total different direction of where you think you're going if you start probing yourself, right? The third thing is, can you do what you would like to do? Do you have the capability, the skill set, whatever that is? Are you willing to pay the price to get the skill set and be enhanced, right? So journal about that. And then the fourth thing is, what drives you, what satisfies you? Now that's a little tricky, Danny, for me, because sometimes we do stuff we've been driven to do because we've just been taught that way, and that satisfaction may not be the right kind. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolute sense.
Okay. So, any final thoughts? Besides, we just messed up a lot of people's heads, and they're going, "Darn these guys."
Pull something out here. What now question? That's what you asked. The what now question. Okay.
What now?
And one is, you mentioned awareness. Become conscious of every choice you make. Got a book later here about discernment. Discernment is in part about choices. I've got a list of 13 choices that I focus on. I look at it not every morning, but a lot of mornings, and remind me of these different choices I need to be making on a daily basis. And over the last 7 to 9 years, those choices, I've updated that. In my original intention, it was Ben Franklin. He had his 13 virtues, and he wrote when he was 19 years old, and he stuck with those things. And he died in his 80s, and he was every week he would focus on one virtue. And some people would say, "Oh, well, he failed about half of them," but still, if you have 13 and you do it every week, you'll go through those 13 virtues 4 times in a year. But I got way off track there. But being conscious of your choices. So first is your awareness. Number 2 is action, and you got to do it.
Yep.
It's rare we don't know what we need to do next. We need to quit planning and start doing. There's a great book called The 4 Disciplines of Execution. We need to quit planning and start doing. And then accountability. Now, I don't use that word a whole lot. I'd rather use ownership. We need to practice ownership. As we practice ownership, then we become self-accountable. I can't hold you accountable. You can't hold me accountable. It's just really difficult as we learn how to be, as we learn how to own our decisions, own our choices. So those are the 3 main things there. I'll add another one. The kind of the law of attraction. It's not really a law. There's some stuff out there about the law of attraction, but who are you attracting? You pointed this out earlier. Attracting. Who are you attracting? Who are you hanging out with? Some people will say that we're the sum total of the 5 people we hang out with the most. And be aware of the people that we attract. That's been a big deal for me. Is to be aware of those people and how I let those people engage with me and how I engage with them.
And man, what a great way to finish. And I would think that, again, I can't express that if you were to dive into this book and just start journaling and really reading it and taking your time with it, don't be in a hurry. You don't have to go through, we're just going to recap each law in the 15 weeks, but take your time on these, because Actually, the little bit of journaling you do might take you in a direction that you never thought. It probably will also get your thinking going in the right direction. And Danny, we're already doing another book by Dr. Carolyn Leaf on, how to switch your brain, and we're going through similar things in our awareness of that. So anyhow, thank you. We got Danny Smith, John Maxwell, certified coach, mortgage loan officer down in Austin for 35 years now, Danny?
39.
39. And Danny's available.
Don't cheat me out of 4 years.
Okay, so if they want to reach you on Facebook to join your pillar, what group?
Find me all online. Everybody can find me at Danny L. Smith.
Yes, so, Danny L. Smith. Do you still have your big blog page, right? DannyLSmith.com. Go check it out. Add him there. Keep up what he's doing. And guys, I can't thank you enough for being on live broadcast. This will be archived on both the business support page, YouTube, and of course, Danny will get a copy to put on their Impact Leadership. You want audio and video, we'll send him a copy to put on their educational page. And as always, guys, and Danny, great insights. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Herdy.
Have a good day. Bye, y'all.
See you.